Hurricanes are monsters. They are massive storms that can span hundreds of miles across and last for days, even weeks. Their sheer size and power make them one of the most formidable natural phenomena on Earth. They form over warm ocean waters, typically in tropical regions where the sea surface temperature is at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit. This warmth is crucial for their development. Hurricanes are fueled by heat and moisture. As warm, moist air rises from the ocean, it cools and condenses to form clouds and release heat, which in turn powers the storm. They're powerful forces of nature, capable of producing winds exceeding 150 miles per hour, torrential rains, and massive waves that can reshape coastlines. Hurricanes bring strong winds, heavy rainfall, and storm surges. These elements combine to create a deadly and destructive force that can devastate communities. These storms can cause catastrophic damage, including flooding, wind damage, and loss of life. Understanding hurricanes is crucial for mitigating their impact and saving lives. We need to be prepared. This means having an emergency plan, knowing evacuation routes, and having supplies ready. We need to protect ourselves from their wrath. Boarding up windows, securing outdoor objects, and evacuating when necessary are all critical steps. Hurricanes have a distinct structure. Understanding this structure helps meteorologists predict their behavior and potential impact. At the center lies the eye. This is a calm and clear area, often spanning 20 to 40 miles in diameter. This is a calm and clear area where winds are light and skies can be partly cloudy or even clear. The eye is surrounded by the eye wall. This is the most dangerous part of the hurricane, where the most intense weather occurs. This is the most dangerous part of the hurricane. Here, the strongest winds and heaviest rains occur, creating a ring of severe weather around the calm eye. Here, the strongest winds and heaviest rains occur. The eye wall can produce wind speeds over 150 miles per hour and rainfall rates of several inches per hour. Extending outward from the eye wall are spiral rain bands. These bands can stretch for hundreds of miles and bring heavy rain and strong winds to areas far from the storm's center. These bands also bring strong winds and heavy rains. They can cause flash flooding and tornadoes, adding to the hurricane's destructive power. Hurricanes are classified by their wind speed. This classification helps determine the potential damage and necessary precautions. The Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale is used. It categorizes hurricanes into 5 levels based on their sustained wind speeds. It ranges from Category 1 to Category 5. Each category represents a significant increase in potential damage and danger. Category 5 hurricanes are the most intense. They have wind speeds of 157 miles per hour or higher. They have wind speeds of 157 miles per hour or higher. These storms are capable of causing catastrophic damage to buildings, infrastructure, and the environment. These storms can cause catastrophic damage. Entire communities can be leveled, and recovery can take years. Understanding and respecting the power of hurricanes is essential for survival and resilience. Hurricane Milton began as a tropical wave. This initial disturbance was a mere ripple in the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean, barely noticeable at first. This was off the coast of Africa. The wave moved westward, driven by the trade winds that sweep across the ocean. As it traveled, it began to gather energy. It encountered warm ocean waters, which are the fuel for tropical systems. The warm air rose, creating an updraft that started to organize the system. This rising air created an area of low pressure at the surface. More air rushed in to fill the void, and the system began to spin due to the Coriolis effect. The incoming air picked up moisture from the ocean's surface. As the moisture-laden air rose and cooled, it condensed into clouds and rain, releasing latent heat that fueled the system further. It began to spin more vigorously, and a tropical depression formed. The storm continued to intensify, drawing more energy from the warm ocean waters. The wind speeds increased and the pressure dropped further. It became Tropical Storm Milton, with defined bands of thunderstorms spiraling around a developing center. Milton continued to gain strength. The storm's structure became more organized, and the eye began to form. It became a hurricane. Hurricane Milton was born, a powerful force of nature. Initially, it was a small hurricane, but its potential for growth was evident. But it was quickly gaining strength, feeding off the warm waters and favorable atmospheric conditions. The storm was moving westward, following the path laid out by the trade winds. It was on a collision course with the Caribbean, threatening to bring heavy rains, strong winds, and potential devastation to the islands in its path. The genesis of Hurricane Milton was complete, and its journey had just begun. Hurricane Milton moved steadily westward. It intensified rapidly. It became a Category 3 hurricane. Milton was now a major hurricane. It posed a significant threat to the islands in its path. The storm continued to strengthen. It became a Category 4 hurricane. Milton's path took it through the central Caribbean. The storm brought high winds and heavy rains. Islands in its path experienced damage, but the worst was yet to come. Milton was still gaining strength. It was on a track towards the Yucatan Peninsula. As Hurricane Milton approached, communities took action. They prepared for the worst. Evacuation orders were issued. Residents boarded up windows. They gathered supplies. They sought shelter. Tourists were evacuated from coastal areas. Hotels were turned into shelters. Emergency responders were on high alert. They were ready to respond to the storm's impact. The atmosphere was tense. People were anxious. They awaited the arrival of Hurricane Milton. Section 5. Landfall. Milton unleashes its fury. Hurricane Milton made landfall. It hit the Yucatan Peninsula. It was a Category 5 hurricane. Milton was at its peak intensity. The storm brought catastrophic damage. Winds reached over 160 miles per hour. The storm surge was devastating. Buildings were destroyed. Trees were uprooted. Power lines were downed. The storm surge flooded coastal communities. The damage was widespread. It was catastrophic. Milton was one of the most intense hurricanes to ever hit the region. Section 6. Picking up the pieces, the long road to recovery. The aftermath of Hurricane Milton was devastating. Communities were in ruins, homes were destroyed, businesses were gone, people were displaced. The recovery process would be long and difficult. Rescue workers searched for survivors. They provided aid to those in need. Food, water, and shelter were scarce. The cleanup effort was massive. Debris was everywhere. Power outages were widespread. The road to recovery would be long and arduous. Section 7. Images of devastation. Milton's impact in pictures. Section 8. Learning from tragedy, the importance of preparedness. Hurricane Milton was a stark reminder. We must be prepared for natural disasters. Hurricanes are powerful storms. They can cause catastrophic damage. We must take steps to protect ourselves. We must prepare our homes and families. We must have a plan. We must know our evacuation route. We must have a disaster kit. We must stay informed. We must listen to the warnings of authorities. Being prepared can save lives. It can reduce the impact of future storms. Section 9. A call to action, building resilience in the face of disaster. Hurricane Milton has passed, leaving behind a trail of destruction and heartbreak. The storm may be over, but the journey to recovery and preparedness has just begun. But the threat of hurricanes remains ever present. We must work together, hand in hand, to rebuild and fortify our communities. The spirit of unity and cooperation is our strongest asset in these challenging times. We must build resilience in our communities by engaging in regular disaster preparedness meetings, participating in hurricane drills, and attending local resilience workshops. These activities not only prepare us for future storms, but also strengthen the bonds within our communities. We must support efforts to improve hurricane forecasting by investing in advanced meteorological research and technology. Strengthening our infrastructure, such as bridges, seawalls, and buildings, is crucial to withstand the forces of nature. We must reduce our vulnerability to these storms by implementing practical measures like installing hurricane shutters, elevating homes in flood-prone areas, and using sandbags to protect buildings. These steps can significantly reduce damage and save lives. We must invest in early warning systems that provide timely alerts and allow residents to take necessary precautions. Weather monitoring stations and emergency alert systems are vital components of our defense against hurricanes. We must educate our communities, starting with our children, about hurricane safety and preparedness. School programs and public education sessions can empower individuals with the knowledge they need to stay safe during a storm. We must promote sustainable building practices that not only protect against hurricanes but also contribute to environmental conservation. Installing hurricane-resistant windows and adopting green construction methods are steps in the right direction. By taking action now, we can mitigate the impact of future hurricanes. Rebuilding stronger homes, planting trees for storm mitigation, and designing hurricane-resistant buildings are essential strategies for long-term resilience. We can protect our communities from the devastating effects of these storms. With collective effort and determination, we can create a safer, more resilient future for all. Section 10, United, we stand supporting communities in need. The road to recovery is long. We must continue to support communities affected by Hurricane Milton. We must provide financial assistance. We must donate to relief organizations. We must volunteer our time and resources. Every contribution makes a difference. By working together, we can help these communities rebuild. We can help them heal. We can help them emerge stronger from this disaster. Section 11, conclusion, weathering the storm together. Hurricane Milton was a tragedy. But it also revealed the resilience of the human spirit. We saw courage, we saw compassion, we saw communities coming together. We must learn from this experience. We must prepare for future storms. We must support each other. We must work together. By doing so, we can weather any storm that comes our way.